Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and sometimes on a Sunday, when things are a little slow news-wise, sometimes I like to go look around at some older videos or just research certain topics because, as I've told you, I'm the digital asset investor. I'm also a researcher, and I'm a wild speculator in cryptocurrencies, private equity, all sorts of things, and information. I wildly speculate. So, I decided that I wanted to look into, today I was looking around for some PayPal information because, as you know, if you listen to this channel, I believe there's a direct link between many of the people at PayPal, or the PayPal Mafia, which refers to the founders and the people that were at PayPal when it started. I believe there are direct links straight to Ripple, straight to Stellar, and I think that these guys were involved from the very beginning. I know they were involved from the very beginning. And so I went and found some video clips that I think you're going to find fascinating, because I did. But first I wanted to show you this from the Gold Telegraph. Here's Christine Lagarde.
We think, we central banks, and I'm not the only one here, there are, at least 80 central banks around the world that are looking at digital currencies. We think that it's a duty of us to actually have available digital currencies that would operate to the benefit of consumers. So what would it look like? Well, it could be used like banknotes. I don't think it is like banknotes because it will not have the degree of anonymity that banknotes have. And I find it very interesting, by the way, that in the consultation that we conducted, that consumers who responded in very large numbers said, we want our privacy to be protected, but we don't want anonymity, because they understand the risk of anonymity when it comes to digital currencies.
Okay, so there's Christine Lagarde, and let's just show you. This is her profile page on the World Economic Forum. That will matter for the rest of this video. Now, so who founded the PayPal? Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, the same guys that never say the words Ripple or XRP. Elon will talk about Dogecoin, the joke. He'll talk about Bitcoin that doesn't work. And he'll talk about how Bitcoin doesn't work. But he won't talk about Ripple, and he won't talk about XRP. You'll never see them say anything about it. I believe that's because they're under NDA. That's just my opinion. But, so I started looking at PayPal and Peter Thiel this morning, just for fun. The first fascinating fact I found is that he joined Sullivan and Cromwell, the law firm. Peter Thiel, before he was at PayPal, he got his law degree. I think it was at Stanford. And then he went and he worked at Sullivan Cromwell. And you'll never guess, he showed up at Sullivan Cromwell at about exactly the same time that Jay Clayton started, which was around 1992, 1993. You can look it up. I did look it up. It's true. Go look it up and you'll find out that it's true. Okay? Now, then I ran into this YouTube channel and found a YouTube channel where they had done nothing but talked about the PayPal Mafia and how the PayPal Mafia is tied to crypto. And again, PayPal Mafia is a reference to all these guys that were there at the beginning at PayPal. I have about 6 clips here. I'm going to let you hear them all because they're fascinating. And I might insert some things that I know as we go.
The Founders Fund is a San Francisco venture capital firm. I mentioned them earlier. It was formed in 2005. The firm was organized by PayPal founders Peter Thiel, Ken Howery, and Luke Nozak, and raised $50 million for his first fund for individual entrepreneurs and angel investors. Of course, they would fund SpaceX, Palantir, and Facebook. Founders Fund was also one of the early investors for Ripple Labs, the company that controls cryptocurrency Ripple. Back during 2013, Ripple Labs started in 2012. Supposedly remains an investor today. In 2017, Founders Fund purchased 15 to 20 million of Bitcoin. On May 2013, speaking at the Thiel Foundation Under 20 Summit last week, Peter Thiel said he gave a talk back in 1999 that mentioned the end of monetary sovereignty and how crypto money was going to, quote unquote, change the world. I do think Bitcoin is the first one of these that has potential to do something like that. Yeah. Now, very interestingly enough, Peter Thiel's very double-minded about crypto, unlike you could say Elon Musk is, where sometimes Thiel will be like, I love crypto, but Bitcoin has issues because the Chinese are making money off it and mining it all. All right. So it's kind of got this dual-minded with it. But they seem to be very much backing Ripple and some other cryptocurrencies that we'll get to later. Now, Ripple is going to be like a cross-border payment solution that's going to replace Swift, which is kind of like what Swift does today. So Swift is kind of like the intermediary. You know, when you use your MasterCard or your Visa at the store, they're the ones that kind of transfer the money, the debit from your bank to the merchant themselves or the middleman. So Ripple is supposed to replace that. And supposed to do it around the world. They've worked with MoneyGram. They worked with Bank of America. They're currently being sued by the SEC right now, but I expect them to win or settle with a marginal effect to the cryptocurrency themselves. And it appears that Ripple is one of their world order currencies. I used to thought it was an old world order currency because Ben Bernanke spoke at their conference. However, I think it's a new world order currency. Ripple is because of Peter Thiel's staunch involvement in Ripple Labs.
How about them apples? Try this one.
Thiel was introduced to Nozak's friend and PayPal Mafia, PayPal original founder, Max Levchin. They founded their first venture called Confinity, which is based on a cryptography related company idea in 1998, of course, which would later become the company PayPal. So like most people who become billionaires and, millionaires, or at least appear as such that they are these wealthy characters put forth in front of the population by the world order, Peter Thiel did not come from humble, brash beginnings with no money. It wasn't like he was someone who truly worked his way from the ground up. So.
Okay, part 3. Here we go. I got plenty of it.
Many figures in the PayPal Mafia later turned up in the ongoing cryptocurrency revolution. But before getting to that, let's talk about PayPal for a moment. Now, my understanding is that it was originally intended to be a digital currency outside the Federal Reserve System, right?
So PayPal's co-founder, Luke Noziak, said his firm initially wanted to create a digital currency that was independent from banks and governments, similar to crypto. Videos uploaded to crypto streaming service blockslive.tv on January 31st, 2019. Panel at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland last week. Nozak was asked whether PayPal or WeChat Pay, an in-app payment system used by the major Chinese messenger, already solved various problems related to online transactions, or whether cryptocurrencies can also solve these problems. Responding to that question, Luke said, many people do not know this, but the initial mission of PayPal was to create a global currency that was independent of interference by those, corrupt cartels of banks and governments that are debasing their currencies.
Okay, let's go on to part 4. These get more and more interesting, by the way.
Thiel was certainly an early investor in Ripple. But another guy who was really significant in its rise was the enigmatic figure of Matthew Mellon II. He is a member of the storied Mellon family from Pittsburgh, who are one of the most powerful families in the history of this country. You do not hear about the Mellons as much as you do about some of the other houses like the Rockefellers or the Morgans, but they rose to prominence in the same era as those families, and they arguably are still going pretty strong in the 21st century, whereas the Morgan family is petered out to some extent, and the Rockefellers certainly don't have anywhere near the same juice that they did after David died. So anyway, the Mellons, though, they're still in the game, and Matthew Mellon was one of the most prominent figures within the family, arguably the most successful, certainly of his era. He was a billionaire, and much of his fortune had been built off of cryptocurrency. Now, besides being a member of the Mellon family, he is also, from his mother's side, related to Anthony Joseph Drexel, who was one of the founders of Drexel Burnham Lambert. Now, this became a rather infamous financial institution in the 1980s. It was the bank that Michael Milken primarily worked through. Of course, Milken was part of that same milieu in New York City in the 1980s that also...
And pardoned by Trump.
Yes, and pardoned by Trump. It included Donald Trump. It included Roy Cohn. It included, the head of Apollo Investment Group. Leon Black. Is that who I'm thinking of, John?
Okay, on to part 5.
Matthew Mellon was also a friend of Peter Thiel,
what do you know?
Surprisingly. So there is also that connection. And it was significant when he started to invest heavily in Bitcoin, I believe back around 2012 or something to that effect, because of his status, as this scion of these old guard Washington banking dynasties. He was one of the first figures to really bring legitimacy to cryptocurrencies. So yeah, it's interesting to see that he and Thiel appear to have teamed up in the early days to really build Ripple up into what it is today.
He and Thiel to build Ripple into what it is today? Unbelievable. Final clip. I'm probably going to not play this part, so go back and watch part 6 of this on your own time. Because you just never know what they're going to cut off, and that word might not be. But I want to finish this and make the point right here. And that is, this was a reply to Brad Combs' video today, and it says on TV now, BlackRock's Fink urges World Bank, IMF overhaul for green era. There's private capital that can be mobilized for emerging markets, but we need to rethink the way the international financial institutions can support low carbon investments at scale. He said of the two organizations established 77 years ago in the waning days of World War II, we need a financing system that isn't built around bank balance sheets. Larry Fink, BlackRock, World Economic Forum. Peter Thiel, the head of the PayPal Mafia, one of the founders, World Economic Forum. Are you putting 2 and 2 together yet, folks? I want to end this video with my sponsor, Link2, and let you know. Let's see here. They sold out of Kraken. They now have Uphold. They have Link2 on here. And I wanted to make a comment about Uphold and Kraken that's very important. We've been talking recently about how there's a crackdown going on, and I've told you my theory is they're going to call a lot of these things securities, and these crypto exchanges that don't have securities licenses are going to be in trouble. Well, guess what? Uphold a long time ago bought a company that had a securities license, so they're covered. Kraken has a banking license, so they're covered. That's part of what make these two a great investment potential, in my opinion. That's why I own some of both. So if you haven't looked into these, there's going to be a handful of winners from these crypto exchanges, and I believe these are 2 of them personally. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family to check out all this PayPal Mafia stuff, because this is where it all started, I think.